Hi everyone. So right now I'm filming with the Fuji X-H1 and I want to tell you a little bit about my initial experience. So one of the awesome things I think about the Fuji X-H1 is that its video capabilities are a lot better than the X-T2. And hopefully, as I'm doing more videos with this camera, I'll give you a little sense of what I'm talking about. But my initial impression has been that the video comes out very clean, um, and that has a lot to do, I think, with some of the settings that are available in the camera. But right now, I'm using the 16mm f1.4. It's on auto. I'm using the shutter speed is at 1/48 of a second, which is wonderful because it's matching my frame rate, which right now is at 23.98. The ISO is at 800, and that's because the dynamic range is at 400, so 400%. And the dynamic range, when I put it at 400%, it gives me a little um, more stops. It's hopefully there's not too much noise, and we'll find out. Also, I'm using 4K, and I'm trying to find out if the face recognition works. Now, all Fuji camera, all Fuji cameras that I've worked with, face detection works. The thing is, when the camera, determines where your face is, it doesn't focus very well. And so that's going to be a very interesting thing. Um, right now, I think the AFC custom settings for movie is for sensitivity is at 0. So I'm trying to see if that works. I've done, of course, some video behind the camera, and it's very nice, very clean, not too much noise, um, especially using this lens, the 16mm f1.4. This lens is a dream lens. If you ever want a beautiful lens to record landscapes or videos like this that you want a lot of room and stuff, the 16mm is the lens for you. Now going back to the camera, the first thing I noticed when I picked up the camera was the grip. It's exciting that the grip now is a little bit bigger because I can use 3 fingers now. Uh, with the XT1, XT2, usually I use 2 fingers to hold it in my thumb, or the X100F or the T, I used also 2 fingers. This one I'm using 3, so I feel a little more stable. Not to say that the XT2 I wasn't able to hold the camera like this, especially if I had a strap. You know, um, I can easily do that. Using the 16 to 55 f2.8 on the XT2 was a little bit of a challenge. It's a little bit top heavy, but not bad. It's usable. But this camera, you can feel when the 16 to 55 goes on the X-H1, you can feel that it's balanced. But you'll also feel the weight. Putting the 16mm on the X-H1, you can feel that it's a little bit heavy. Right now, it's 10 minutes to 6 in March. The sun is already down. It's becoming more of that blue period. And it's going to be very interesting to find out if if there's going to be more noise on me or not. Now, there is a tally light. Like right now, there's a blinking light telling me that I'm recording. And this is really cool because it's telling me that I'm being recorded, so I don't have to figure out if I did press the button or not. That's another thing too, the shutter button. First time I took a picture, the moment I pressed the button, it just took the picture very quickly, and I was pretty surprised. Other people have mentioned that, and I thought, well, maybe there's a control to make that a little more stiff. No, there isn't. You'll get used to it, but it just responds very, very easily. And it doesn't have the threads, right, on the top of the button to put a, your own little button. So you'll find out, pressing the button is a bit different than your other cameras. I'm using the Video Micro, works perfectly. It now has the 3.5. What else can I tell you? I haven't used the touchscreen yet. I'll be working on that later. Hopefully that there's something there. On the bottom, the quarter 20 is aligned with the lens. I thought that was pretty neat. The exposure compensation, there is no button for it. There is a little button. There is no dial, I should say, but there is a button. I've been noticing now watching this video at this time, right? This is March 2018. Right now, a few cameras came out already, like the GH5S and the Canon M50, or the Sony Alpha 7 III. And right now, if you watch the videos in this time period, you'll be seeing a lot of people saying that mirrorless cameras are going to be taking the lead compared to DSLRs. But you'll notice that you'll find out that the cameras are getting bigger. The mirrorless camera form factor was always small, and the focusing was pretty bad. But now these cameras are getting bigger and more sophisticated, because one thing that I've noticed about the Fuji X-H1 is that there's some noise, like there's a fan or something. I thought it was the IBIS, because the IBIS, which is super awesome. I've taken pictures now at 1/50th of a second or something. Definitely 1/30th of a second, and it's really sharp. But I thought having the IBIS on gave me that noise. But I've turned off the IBIS, and I still hear like some fan noise. Be interested to see what other people have to say about that. Somebody's going to find out what that noise is. That's kind of interesting. The camera does have, like, its quirks. It's thicker because it probably has other things going on in there, like other mechanical things. So you'll find out when you turn on, or I think when you turn off for sure, you'll feel the camera like jerk a little bit. And I think, it probably is the IBIS and such. Going back to the button, the exposure compensation button on the X-H1, you'll get used to it. You gotta press the button, you press and hold, and then you move the dial, and you can get your exposure compensation that way. The screen is beautiful. It really does give you a sense of what that picture looks like. The EVF, which has always been amazing, which one of the reasons why I fell in love with the X-T1 was because of the screen, the electronic viewfinder. And I'm noticing in this camera, the video is pretty stable. Right now I'm doing 4K with face detection. We'll see if that's holding. I'm pretty sure it is. I've been testing it a little bit. But the crazy thing is that the previous cameras, the face detection is its Achilles heel. But it seems like this camera is doing a much better job. I think this whole argument, if you watch videos from 2012 or a little bit before that, where people were like, I'm going to get myself a mirrorless camera because I don't want to carry all this weight, really it's kind of nonsense now. These cameras do weigh a little bit, and they're bulky. They're just like my SL2 or a 5D Mark III, which this is a great camera. This camera is a great replacement for anyone who has a 5D Mark III. But that's a different conversation. What I'm trying to say is that there is this idea that I've had for a little while, and I've mentioned it in some other videos, called the mirrorless thesis. And the mirrorless thesis goes like this. It's, yes, they're more compact, these mirrorless cameras. But the thing that makes them great is the electronic viewfinder. And we had, if you think of it, if you think of the point and shoots back in the day when people used to take pictures using the electronic viewfinders, those primitive electronic viewfinders, it and it gave you a precursor of what it is today, because everybody's all fascinated about putting filters in Instagram and such, and you have to figure, why are people so fascinated by that? Well, because they're putting a certain mood to the picture, right? That's what Ansel Adams was talking about a long time ago with his idea of the visualization, right? Pre-visualization, visualizing what the picture will be when you put it into the developer and the fixer, and when people used to use film. Today we don't use film, but we use filters to choose a mood, right? From the beginning, you can see already what the final product will be, and that's where Fuji, I think, had it first. Sony had electronic viewfinders, sure, but they weren't. The refresh rate wasn't great. The colors weren't great. Today, of course, it's way better. But Fuji had it, I think, at first, where the rendering and the refresh of the electronic viewfinder had a certain quality and magic to it. Okay, so that's it for now. I'll be seeing you later. Bye bye.